in the cost of holidays on sale now, which are pitched to simulate demand within the current market. I have had another journalist contact me about this, asking for information because they're not travel based, even though they cover travel. I'm not going to mention who they work for because I don't want you to go into them. I want you to stay with me. But anyway, they've not come across it really much in the past, and they were surprised that it was happening. And they asked me for a list of the tour operators that do it. And as far as I know, every tour operator has this in the terms and conditions, that if the pound plummets, they have the right to come back to you and ask you for more money. If they're members of ABTAs, that there is conditions to be followed. So if it's more than 10% more, you can have a full refund and cancel the holiday. But you do need to check with ABTA and the terms and conditions of your tour operator to make sure when you can and when you can't cancel. Although the same thing should happen if the pound becomes stronger and the holidays become cheaper, though I've never come across a story of somebody getting a discount or money back, but I'm sure it has happened. If it's happened to you, please do let me know. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. But again, this is another thing where you can't just tick the terms and yes, I've read the terms and conditions box. You do need to read them. You do need to know what you're signing yourself up for. And £50 per person if you're a family of 4, that's a lot of money to find at Christmas time to add on top of your holiday, especially if you weren't expecting it. So one way around it, if you're booking through an ABTA company, is to book within 8 weeks of travel because they can't increase the price then, or book last minute, or don't use a package holiday, book everything separate and pay in local currency when you get to your hotel, and pay for your airline ticket as soon as you can. Just one of the many ways of getting around it, but I'm sure this won't be the last we hear about surcharges this winter. This is for my American listeners. I know there's a few of you. I really need you to take up the consultation I'm about to talk about. The US Transportation Department, DOT, is considering lifting the ban on in-flight voice calls. If allowed, individual airlines will be required to inform passengers in advance if voice calls were permitted on any given flight. Individual airlines would be likely to have the option to allow the phone conversations or not once the DOT has made up its mind. I'll get fed up on the train when people are on the phone, especially if they just insist on doing it hands-free and shout with a unit in their hand, which really bugs me. Can you imagine being on a 17-hour flight to Perth with people talking the whole time? Nightmare. Anyway, so the Transportation Department has called for a more public comment on the diversity issue, which in the past has been overwhelmingly opposed by flyers and consumer groups. So keep this up. Keep saying you're opposed to it. Don't let it happen, please. The DOT found that 96% favoured a continued ban on voice calls when the subject was last brought up for public discussion in 2014. So, as I said, the DOT proposal would require airlines to provide adequate advance notice if they were going to allow this horrible, horrible thing. A trade group of Airlines for America says airlines should be given the right to decide themselves whether to allow it, and unions strongly oppose it. Now, the Department of Transport is opening a 60-day comment period to collect views from the general public, so do check out the DOT's website if you're an American and put big capital No on the consultation. If, unlike me, you are for voice calls while you're flying, I would be extremely interested to know why you think it's a good idea. Please let me know why they should be voice calls on airlines at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
If you're going abroad by plane, boat, or the family car, if you're going abroad for pleasure or business, there's one essential thing to do before you go. Check the expiry date on your European Health Insurance card. You can renew it up to 6 months before it expires. Visit nhs.uk/healthcareabroad. Or call 0845 606 2030. Bon voyage!
Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. When you go on a driving holiday, whether you hire a car or use your own car, There's always plenty of local laws, rules and regulations you have to follow, and as a driver it's your responsibility to make sure you follow them. So if you hire a car in Spain or France, whatever, you have to make sure that everything that you need to have to be legal on the road is there, because it's your responsibility to check and not the hire car companies. And there's also things you never think about, and this is a warning for people who want to drive to Paris, though why anybody would want to drive to Paris I've no idea. It's bad enough driving around the outskirts without going through the centre. But there's new rules that require all drivers, including British motorists, to display a sticker showing their vehicle's emission levels. This is from January the 16th, and vehicles that are older than 20 years will be banned from driving within the ring road between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Yes, the ring road has a name. No, I've no idea how to pronounce it, but there's a P in there somewhere. All other vehicles, including motorcycles, must display a sticker or face fines of €68. And you can apply for a sticker, which costs £3.60 at the moment, at certificate without an E at the end, air.gov.fr. An English language version of the site won't be available until the new year. So if you plan to go to Paris soon, but after the January the 16th and the website's not up, you can use Google Translate to translate the website from French to English. If you've ever been caught out by things you need to have when you've been driving in a different country, such as the toll sticker for Switzerland, and whether you can drive a certain car on a certain day in other cities around the world, because you always hear about people with certain registration numbers can't travel on one day and can travel on the other, and you've been caught out, especially if you didn't have all the equipment in the boot that you should have had, please do share your story at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Let us know the country where you got caught out and what was missing. But what if you're a responsible tourist and you've not driven into a town centre or city centre and you want to do a tour? I'm sure we've all been on a guided bus tour of a city. I've done Rome. Perhaps many of you have too. But it's going to be harder because after banning Roman soldiers and rickshaws, the Mayor of Rome has now declared the city's historic centre off limits to tourist coaches. Local travel companies say this would be disastrous because public transport in Rome is too confusing for visitors. It's not that bad, but can you imagine trying to go around the city centre on a tour on a public bus instead of a nice tourist bus with everybody telling you what to see and do? But then I suppose if you're local, you're probably quite happy to see less buses going around. How well this is going to work, we just have to wait and see.
What about my phone call? I want to call my family.
Too late now.
Please, please, please.
Step through now, please.
Oh, no.
Too late now.
Here's the goods. You take them in false bottom bag, you strap them to your body, it's up to you.
Look, I've changed my mind. I want out.
Too late now.
So, you're offering me a free holiday?
Yeah,
I just have to bring back something for a friend of yours.
that's right. You get some serious cash.
Right.
Well,
Not too late. Don't get talked into trafficking drugs. Once you're in, the British government can't get you out. Don't throw your life away.
And now a story about an airport that doesn't involve having extra runways or beating records of how many passengers. 31 projects across Kent, Surrey and Sussex have become the first recipients to be awarded £150,000 in grants from the newly established Gatwick Foundation Fund. These projects include a broad mix of local charities, voluntary organisations, and there's a key focus on young people, the elderly, disability groups, families, education and training. The fund was established to provide £300,000 in annual grants to local charities and other non-profit organisations. These funds are distributed evenly by the community foundations for Kent, Surrey and Sussex, and Gatwick employees also have the opportunity to be closely associated with the projects close to their heart by offering their support and expertise. This £300,000 annual fund is on top of Gatwick's existing charitable donations. The 31 recipients estimate grants will positively benefit 13,750 people across the 3 counties. And the next round of grants is expected to be allocated in February next year and can be used to fund existing services or facilities as well as new initiatives. So that's a nice, good story to come out of an airport this week. And finally, a story about flight compensation. Of course, it's a survey done to promote a company who makes life easier when it comes to claiming delayed flight compensation. So there might be a bit of a bias here. But EU Claim is accusing airlines using dirty tricks to put off flyers claiming the compensation by making the claim forms hard to find. They say that airline websites are making it a complex task for customers to claim compensation, and they timed how long it took to find the actual bit of information you needed without typing in claim form or phoning them up. It says that Thomson buries the information so much that it takes an average of 13.21 minutes. With Jet2, the team gave up after 24.29 minutes and then spent another 7.04 minutes phoning customer services, but only to be told the only way to claim was by email or by writing. Monarch took 8.9 minutes to find, but then there's an error message. It didn't work. Virgin Atlantic was 15.21 minutes. And it said that Ryanair has changed its terms and conditions to legally limit passengers' rights to claim compensation by using lawyers or claim forms. Have you ever claimed for a flight compensation? I have. I used a former guest to do it, not a EU claim, but somebody else. I just wanted to see how well they would handle the problem, even though I knew it would cost me 20% of my claim. And it turned out claiming from Virgin was a complete nightmare, and it took 18 months, I think. But anyway, what about you? If you claimed money back from delayed flight, did you find the process simple, complicated? Did you use a third party? Please give us the full story at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Well, this is the end of the 200th John Guinn Travel Show. Will I make it to 300? Who knows? Hopefully I will be. We're coming up to peak booking season, January, and if there's any destinations you want to know more about, now's the time to let me know. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Just tell me the type of holiday you're looking at, the destination you want to go to, what sort of questions you want answered, and I'll either find out the answers or get somebody on to tell you the answers themselves. So facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Mention compensation claims. As I said, if you have had trouble claiming from an airline, please do share which airline and the reasons given to you for the delay and whether you actually were successful in the end. I was, but it took an awful long time, and the company I used actually had to earn their money because I had to do a lot of chasing. All I had was the odd email every now and again with an update. I didn't have to keep resending information to the airline to try and get my money. Or perhaps you think that the compensation levels are unrealistic, unreasonable for the airlines, and you feel that somebody getting £600 for a flight that only cost them £150 is a bit wrong. Let me know, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. And I hope you can join me next week for the 201st Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.